The astronaut was just getting up to use the bathroom at night. The next second a giant spider showed up inside. Jess was terrified and slammed the door shut. He thought the spider was just a hallucination from being alone too long in space, so he asked Mission Control to pull up the bathroom camera. But they quickly told him all the ship's cameras were offline. They were still checking what went wrong.
You gotta be kidding me.
Jess couldn't wait any longer. He braced himself and opened the door. The spider wasn't just alive. It was actually talking to him.
I did not intend to frighten you, skinny human.
Jess was so scared he ran into the seal chamber and asked Mission Control to release the disinfection gas. They were confused, since disinfecting the ship cost tens of thousands of dollars. Jess didn't want them to think he was crazy, so he said it was to ensure the mission could finish smoothly. And once they heard it was mission-related, they approved it. Gas began to fill the ship. Jess let out a sigh of relief. No insect could survive that kind of gas. When it was over, Jess opened the hatch and stepped out. But the spider came out too.
Are you? I am as real as you are. You can't be.
Jess tried to touch it to check if it was real, but the spider pulled away. Turns out his species doesn't like physical contact. The spider told Jess he was also an astronaut. He was heading to the edge of the solar system, but ended up curious about humans. He learned human history and language from orbit, but didn't understand human emotions. Then he noticed Jess. He saw that Jess acted cheerful around others, but deep down he was very lonely. The spider was curious why, so he came onto the ship. He also offered to help Jess finish exploring the pink nebula faster. Jess was speechless, but since he couldn't fight the spider, he agreed to let him stay. What he didn't expect was that this terrifying spider would eventually help him find redemption. The next morning, Jess was woken up by the sound of a vacuum. The spider was sitting next to it. Turns out the broken vacuum from earlier was turned on by the spider because he liked the sound it made. That's when images of Jess arguing with his wife flashed through his mind. The spider was reading his memories. He learned that Jess's wife was filing for divorce. Maybe that's why Jess felt so lonely. The spider wanted to talk about it, but Jess refused. The spider kept pushing, so Jess locked himself in his room. Later, on the way to the bathroom, he ran into the spider again. He warned him that the bathroom and bedroom were private spaces. The spider complained that Jess had too many rules. Maybe that's also why he was lonely. Jess froze. He'd never thought about that. At lunch, the spider asked to try an egg. Jess said eggs were hard to store in space, but he had something better. He brought out a jar of chocolate spread. The smooth taste reminded the spider of home. Jess was curious where that was, but the spider shook his head. His home had been taken over by another alien race. His family was eaten. He was the only one who escaped. Jess looked at him with sympathy. Leaving his wife to go into space now didn't feel that different from the spider's story. That meal brought them closer. They slowly got to know each other. Jess asked what was inside the nebula. The spider said it was where everything began. Looking at the beautiful cloud, Jess remembered the early days with his wife. The spider saw those memories too. He asked why they started off so happy but ended in separation, and why Jess only thought about her after coming to space. Why didn't he cherish her while on Earth? Jess said nothing. He picked up a milk pouch and started drinking. The spider noticed he didn't want to talk, so he didn't press. The ship finally reached the edge of the nebula. Jess began collecting samples. Suddenly a video of his last call with his wife started playing. Jess told the spider to stop, but it wasn't the spider this time. In the video, his pregnant wife said she didn't understand him. He wanted to go to space, but also said he'd miss her. That didn't make sense. Every time he had a dream, he left her behind. She even threatened to abort the baby. Frustrated, Jess tried to shut the video off because it exposed his biggest secret. Just then a glowing purple particle floated in front of him. The spider recognized it. It was a piece of the nebula. Jess grabbed a jar to catch it, but it passed right through. He tried using the vacuum, but it didn't work either, and it ruined the spider's favorite sound. The spider complained, but Jess didn't care, because he'd lost contact with Mission Control. While he tried to fix it, more nebula particles appeared. Jess panicked, but the spider calmed him down. It meant they were inside the nebula, and the particles weren't harmful. Jess relaxed. Then the spider said he wanted to ask something painful. Why in the video did Jess's wife seem so afraid of the baby? Jess explained it was her third pregnancy. The first two ended in miscarriage. The spider was confused why Jess wasn't there when she needed him. He read Jess's memories. Jess gave up being there to become an astronaut. He even got annoyed just hearing her voice. Now she was pregnant again, and Jess still signed up for the mission. The spider felt he was getting close to the root of Jess's loneliness, but Jess stayed silent. He kept working on the radio, trying to hide his emotions, but it didn't work. The spider pulled up another memory. The day Jess was chosen to explore the nebula, his wife was heartbroken. Jess gave her a bunch of half-hearted promises, ones he didn't even listen to.
We're together in this. You and me.
Promise me one thing. Promise me we're still going to do all the things we talked about.
The spider believed Jess's wife could feel it, that Jess only cared about his own dreams, so she slowly lost hope, and Jess's loneliness came from his selfishness. Now that the spider had figured it out, he started to lose interest in Jess. He decided to leave, but Jess didn't want him to, only because he still needed help with the mission. The spider was deeply disappointed. He left the ship. Jess looked around the empty ship. He was filled with guilt. Maybe he'd been wrong all along. When he was a kid, his father went to jail for embezzlement. Jess was almost drowned by others because of it, so he wanted to become a hero, an astronaut, to change how people saw him, but it ended up hurting his wife. She tried to be patient, but he was selfish. Now he was full of regret. After reconnecting with Earth, the first thing he did was ask a colleague to bring the phone to his wife. She didn't answer, just listened in silence. Jess apologized, said his selfishness led to her past miscarriages.
I just want to come home. When we met, I felt safe for the first time in my life. And now I can't, for the life of me, understand why I kept leaving you behind. When you're the only thing that matters. You tried hard to know me. I am so sorry I never made a real effort to know you.
His wife quietly cried, and Jess found redemption. Then the spider appeared again. He had seen it all, and he forgave Jess. He also told him a secret. He had been wounded when escaping the alien race, and was dying, but he had promised to help Jess finish the Nebula mission, and he would keep that promise. Jess was moved, under the spider's guidance. He used the robotic arm to collect samples, but just then, the energy left in the spider's body went out of control. The ship's systems started failing. Not wanting to cause more problems, the spider left the ship. Things went back to normal, and Jess was told to return home, but he couldn't leave the spider behind. He was going to stay with him no matter what. He suited up, grabbed a can of disinfectant, opened the hatch, and tied himself to the ship with a safety line, then used the gas can as a thruster to fly toward the spider. He caught him in his arms, but the impact broke the line. He couldn't get back. The spider scolded Jess for being reckless, but Jess didn't care. They drifted together deeper into the nebula. Jess saw things he never imagined. The spider told him the truth of the universe. Jess realized the spider's life force was fading. The spider admitted he was scared of dying, but was glad Jess was there. Jess took out the chocolate spread, so the spider could taste home one last time. The spider was grateful. He said he began here and would end here, but this wasn't the end for Jess. Then the purple nebula began to fade, and in the distance a Korean spaceship approached. Jess thought he was hallucinating, but the spider said that was the start of Jess's new life with his wife. Then he slowly vanished.